Esteban Ocon's parents were so poor they had to sell their entire house just to give him a chance at glory, while other drivers were so rich they had their dads just buy out an entire F1 team. Let's run through the richest and poorest drivers to date, but to start, let's go back to Esteban Ocon. Born in Évreux, France, Ocon's life pre-F1 couldn't have been more modest. Dad was a mechanic. Mum ran a small garage in town. Just regular folk with a kid who had an idea. Car racing. Problem is, motorsport racing is the most expensive sport you can get into. So how did Ocon do it? Well, his parents realized that they actually do have the money to give him the shot he needed. Problem is, they were living in it. Laurent Ocon made an insane decision.
Sold the garage, sold the house. The house and the garage was the same place anyway. That's where I grew up as well.
They sold it to support your racing?
Yeah.
His parents sold everything they owned and lived in a caravan so they could travel to races just to give Esteban the shot at glory.
Some kids had the luxury to be able to be in race teams or in factory teams, have, mechanics, a lot of different engines. I had one used chassis, two used engine that we chose carefully. And we were recycling tires at testing, going to the bin, taking some tires from other kids that were still warm but still in very good condition, putting them on testings.
And run it did. 2011, the WSK Euro Series, and even though he didn't win, he did snag second place behind none other than Max Verstappen. Max himself didn't exactly have it hard. His dad was this guy, Jos Verstappen, an F1 driver himself from 1994 to 2003. Yes, he doesn't have any world championships like his son, but he still did make a boatload of money making Max's F1 journey a little smoother. But we'll get into the worst violators soon. He's also the guy in this clip.
Quick glimpse of it from Verstappen. Oh, and fuel! That's the first time we've had a fuel splash. Oh my goodness me!
But for Ocon, the saviour was here, Mercedes. They saw just how broke he was and made the call. He joined the Mercedes Junior Development Programme and the doors flew open. 2014, Euro F3 Championship, even ahead of Verstappen. 2016, he debuted in F1 with Manor Racing and then a full-time seat with Force India in 2017. But not once did he forget about the sacrifices his parents made for him.
If I go back to it now, the strength that my parents had to do something like this, it's nuts. If I was in their position now, I would probably not be doing that, taking that much risk. They saw something in me.
Ocon's story shows you that if you're good enough and you're willing to risk it all, that gamble could just pay off. As we break down everyone else in this video, you'll soon realize how rare these occurrences are, especially with idiots like this guy.
Nikita Mazepin, Haas F1 team.
Here we go. Daddy's boy. Saying the Russian was born into immense wealth is an understatement. His father, Dmitry Mazepin, now the former chairman of Uralchem, one of the largest fertilizer producers in Russia, but more importantly, an oligarch. His net worth, $2.2 billion, with a B. So, for Nikita, how does his billionaire father get his son into F1? Regardless of money, Nikita still needed to perform. I know, it's beyond easy to shit on the Nepo baby, but let's just for a second give him some credit. He actually drove well early on.
Yeah, it's true, it's incredible.
Winning the Russian karting championship in 2011 and even bagging second place in the 2014 Karting World Championship behind this guy, Lando Norris. But what did they have that the others didn't? Funding, and a lot of it. Thanks to Daddy, Nikita had access to the best training, teams, the newest tech upgrades, and unsurprisingly, he flew up the ranks. But then, F3. Shows money can only get you so far, right? Well, in that same season, look who came first. Lance Stroll is the final boss of Daddy Wealth, but we'll get to him shortly too, as Nikita was starting to show his true colours. Didn't help Nikita much when during the Hungaroring GP that season.
We've read that you were punched in the face by Nikita Mazepin twice.
On occasion, but yeah. I think he did right. He sent it into turn one, and I don't think he took a liking. Unfortunately, I got what hit me.
F2, even with a few wins in there, still bad. So how did he get into F1 then? What about making your dad's company the main sponsor for a team that's heavily struggling financially and needed a desperate cash injection?
Who came up with the Russian color scheme?
It is not the Russian color scheme, It could be the American one, it could be the British one, It's always the same colors,
And that's exactly what they did. And thus, the legend was born. It went exactly as predicted.
This is madness.
Take Barcelona, for instance. He'd already spun out. But instead of working with his pit crew, he doubles down that it's all their fault.
Asking me for feedback, I give you the feedback. We do a change, and it does exactly the opposite of what I'm asking for.
That's what people hate you.
Has tried to work with a Russian sleeper agent, but to no avail. So instead of the pit crew telling him where to improve, Nikita just did what he wanted.
What the other car has is this slightly lower rear right hope.
Maybe we do that as well.
Okay.
Every driver drives the car differently, so copying the same specs as his teammate wouldn't help. But Daddy's boy knows best, it seems. Let's see how it goes.
I don't have much rears.
Mazepin struggling at touch.
His tyres are not enjoying it.
Short summation of your day. I don't know.
I hate this guy. His entire career was a train wreck from start to finish, earning the infamous nickname Mazepin, a name he lived up to rather well.
Nikita Mazepin. Of course it is. Just try and avoid Mazepin around here.
This is Nikita Mazepin. Oh, no. There's a collision in the pit lane.
Before it even started, it ended.
Russian driver Nikita Mazepin has been sacked by the Haas team as a result of his country's invasion of Ukraine.
With his dad being an oligarch and with Putin invading Ukraine, Haas wanted nothing to do with that. Just because you have money doesn't mean you have that raw talent and fire within you. Like this guy, whose come-up story is nearly as insane as his on-track legacy. The GOAT.
Michael Schumacher gets his 7th Formula One World Championship.
But the Schumachers before all the fame were about as humble as you can get. Back in Herth, Germany, his father Rolf Schumacher worked as a bricklayer and ran the local kart track. His mother Elizabeth opened her own little restaurant at the track, so it's safe to say they're not buying yachts anytime soon. But Michael was different. He started racing in a trash can, thrown together by his father, putting whatever he could together, using these wheels thrown away by the wealthy teams. Michael didn't even race for Germany at the beginning. Why? They may be broke, but they were bloody smart.
Du startest für Luxemburg. Warum?
In Deutschland müssen wir Qualifikationsläufe fahren und das kostet Geld. Und wenn wir da ausfallen, sind wir nicht für die WM qualifiziert. Und in Luxemburg sind wir als einzigster Starter und das kostet kein Geld und wir sind qualifiziert.
Genius. The plan is perfect in case Michael lost. They have a safety net. He didn't need it. As smart as they were, his dad still couldn't keep up with the mounting bills. Michael was forced into becoming a mechanic at his family shop, fixing up not just his cars, but even other races. Didn't matter. The raw talent was undeniable. A local businessman named Jürgen Dilk saw it too. He was the first Schumacher sponsor, so now, with money in hand, the run to the top began. German Junior Kart Championship in 1983, secured. But now in single-seaters, the loom of being able to afford these even more expensive cars was large. Insert the lifeline, Willy Weber. The reason Michael could even make it into Formula One in the first place.
Natürlich stand die Geldfrage im Raum. Michael Schumacher hatte damals wirklich nichts, also keine 500 Mark, um so eine Saison zu bestreiten. Die kostete aber damals schon zwischen 600.000 und 700.000.
He saw his trajectory and ran with him. With Weber's backing, Schumacher was thrown into the deep end. 1990, the German Formula 3 champion. That's no small feat, and a little Irishman saw it, Jordan's team owner, Eddie Jordan. 1991, Michael's chance was here.
We needed at very short notice to get a replacement for Bertrand, who was obviously unavailable. Schumacher was available this weekend.
The rest, as they say, is history. 7 world championships and widely regarded as one of the best, if not the best, to ever do it. But Michael broke through, just as Esteban Ocon did and the driver after our next. For now, we go to someone who, even though a fan favourite by many, came from money like you can't even imagine. $250 million. This is the fortune of one of the founding members of Hargreaves Lansdown, Britain's largest pension retailer and current
founder and CEO of Pure Electric.
Has accumulated over the years. That's made him the 610th richest person in the UK. This man is Adam Norris, the father of none other than McLaren's previous golden boy, Lando Norris. Here's the major difference though. Lando can actually drive. Lando's access to wealth meant that his karting and junior formula career was heavily supported. Yes, he had all the latest in kart tech, but more importantly, as he began to climb the ranks, Papa Norris could afford to move him into higher categories as soon as he was ready, without needing sponsorship. It's 2014. He won not just locally, but the entire FIA World Car Racing Championship.
Your world champion is Lando Norris.
But in 2017, he's already in Formula 3 and signed to the McLaren Junior program. McLaren saw just how good Lando was. 2019, his full-time F1 seat was here. Did it help that his dad was loaded? Maybe slightly, but at least Lando's dad didn't take over the team. In saying that, his Pure Electric scooter company does have an official McLaren collab. I wonder how much they cost. Holy shit.
If I speak, I am in big trouble.
As we go back to the broke drivers, we have to talk about Ferrari's latest victim, Lewis Hamilton. Now, we know Lewis grew up poor, but more specifically, I want to look at Lewis's dad, as he may be the reason Lewis is as successful as he is. He slaved away working multiple jobs, but at one stage he ran 4 jobs, even at the same time, just to make sure they could capitalize on Lewis's raw talent. The poor man was sleeping in the car just to save money while they traveled for races. It's very similar story to not just Ocon and Schumacher's, but even 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel. His dad is a carpenter and his mum a homemaker or a live-in maid. They deserve a video all for themselves, but back to Lewis. And actually, he took a very similar path to Lando, as Lewis was also signed to McLaren's junior program at 13, with one Ron Dennis seeing that little sparkle in his eyes.
He is still quite young, but he is very focused and very confident. There are some traits there that you see in the greats.
He had the sacrifice, the talent, and now the funding. Lewis not just getting into Formula One was inevitable, but for him to have as many championships as he does is no mystery. You see, since Anthony Hamilton sacrificed his life to give Lewis the chance, he was at every race and saw something, a way to stand out among the rest.
There were 25 kids on the grid and they could all put in the same lap times, but what actually marks you out as completely different to everybody else?
I'm generally known as one of the latest breakers. My dad would go around and he would stand on the track and see where the best drivers was braking.
You know, I said to Lewis, I'll tell you what, let's try late braking.
If he was braking here for the corner that's over there, he'd move further down the road, a couple meters further, and it's like, you got to brake here, not brake where he's braking.
Because if you brake later, you can come out of the corner quicker and you can be faster on the track.
Do it again, and I'd be like, I can't, do it again. And eventually, I could brake there, and that's quicker than everyone. That's why I have the championships I have.
When you need all the help you can get without financials, Lewis's dad became the ultimate jack of all trades, and the reason Lewis is where he is today. But now, we have to talk about him, the poster boy for wealth, for daddy's money. The man whose dad has over $3 billion to his name and a car collection worth as much as Lando Norris's dad's entire net worth. This is Lance Stroll. First, we need to understand just how much money his dad, Lawrence Stroll, has. A Canadian billionaire with a fat net worth of $3.9 billion. How? By bringing global fashion brands like Tommy Hilfiger and Michael Kors into new global markets, raking in on the profits, making him the 812th richest person in the world. For Lance, he was a racing fan from a young age. And, well, let's first start with the fact his dad owns a whole racetrack, the circuit Mont Tremblant, up in the Quebec mountains, but you need cars to drive on this track. That's where his $180 million car collection comes into play. One of the largest car collections in the world, even including this, the Ferrari 250 GTO, estimated at around a zesty $50 million. But Lance wanted to go pro. Stroll managed to go one further. Strap in. From day one, he was flown to his karting events in private jets. Lawrence hired a team around Lance, including Pedro de la Rosa, an ex-F1 driver to coach Lance in his infancy. For the rest of the kids on the grid just trying out karting, they didn't even stand a chance. For Lance, while he was pushing his way through all the broke kids, Lawrence would perform his first act. You see, he didn't just hire a team around Lance. Lawrence basically bought out the Prema Racing team. Lawrence invested a reported £60 million into the team, snatching that seat away from a harder working racer and serving it to Lance. In saying that, it did all work. I'll give him a speck of credit that regardless of money, Lance still had to perform, and that he did, winning the 2014 Italian F4 Championship, continuing with Prema in 2015 and 2016 in F3, and then in 2017, F1? What about F2? Normally a driver would have to excel in every Formula Series to work their way up, but not Lance. You see... Yep, because who needs to waste their time proving themselves when Captain Canada can just buy out another team? Just when you thought Lawrence Stroll was done, he outdid himself. 2019 and the Racing Point team had gone into administration. They needed money from anywhere to keep them afloat.
The consortium is led by billionaire businessman Lawrence Stroll. So, could Lance soon be driving for his dad's new team?
Duh, of course he is. That's a big reason why Lawrence is here, to watch his son race. But in 2021, with Aston Martin looking at F1, he wasn't done just there. £182 million. Racing Point was rebranded as Aston Martin in 2021, and of course, the teat-suckler Lance himself got a solidified F1 seat along with that. We wouldn't be so hard on Lance if he could actually drive, or even if he was a decent person. He was neither. Cue Qatar 2023. After coming in a measly 17th in qualifying, Lance started to show his true colours.
Out of the car, nowhere to hide in Formula One. Who's struggling to find the answers at the moment. Ooh.
When asked about his qualifying,
what are your emotions right now?
Yeah.
What is not clicking for you behind the wheel at the moment?
I don't know.
How does this change your mindset for the weekend? Is it now a test session? Are you going to go for it in the sprint?
Keep driving.
Whichever way you look at it, abusing your pit crew and being a general dick to those around you makes you wonder how anyone can even like this guy. Doesn't matter how he acts, Daddy's keeping that seat warm for him regardless. If there's a takeaway from this video, it's that no matter how much money you have, pure grit will sculpt champions, not checkbooks alone. The Grid out.